Good evening and welcome to the Pink 'Un Show, the Norwich City fanzine that is its fingers on the Canaries' pulse. It's just struggling to find any signs of life when we stray beyond Norfolk. Over the next hour, we have all the Norwich City fallout you could ever wish to be exposed to, and we won't use a single pun about Brewers Droop and the difficulties in organising a night out in a brewery, apart from just then, and probably the rest of the show. And of course, we will also be looking ahead to the big one, the East Anglian derby, clinging on to all its former playoff-relevant glory. As for our stubbornly blue sofa, how about three of the purest yellow and green beings we could find this side of Dave Stringer's garden? They are Starman Darren Eadie, Music Man John Rogers, and Cheery Man Chris Reeve.
Oh, hey.
We are live on YouTube, so if you want to get in touch with the show, simply leave us a comment under the live YouTube stream, visit the Pink 'Un Facebook page, or you can send us a tweet with your views or questions. Just include the handle @Pink 'Un. Right, let's have some headlines. Norwich fold like a cheap suit at Burton. Is that it for City's playoff hopes? It wasn't supposed to happen anymore, but it did. Outmuscled, outmanoeuvred, City added the Pirelli Stadium to their list of away day deflations. Talk of the town! Yeah! And yet, Sheffield Wednesday's surprise home defeat to Brentford in midweek will have some hoping all is not lost. And with a derby game even City surely couldn't fail to get up for, Ipswich must be the ideal next task. And you heard it through the grapevine. Yes, ex-City youth coach Graham Murty says it's unlikely he will want to stay on as full-time Rangers manager, yet the strong links are Alec Neil's right-hand man, Alan Irvine, is in the Glasgow club's sights. City could do without that. And finally, Dinamo light up City's cup. Dinamo Zagreb's under-23s will be the visitors to Carrow Road on Monday when City take on the Premier League International Cup quarter-finals. Academy manager Richard Money is in temporary charge for the first time following Dimitri Halajko's exit, probably for Leicester. And there is your final bomb. Darren, John, Chris, not in that order, as we found out. Welcome to tonight's show. I guess we're hoping that the derby will be more of a delight than the Burton bash that we had to sit through at the weekend.
Well, I think it has to be now, doesn't it, after the result from Saturday? It was unexpected. After the way they performed in recent weeks, I felt they were at least going to go there and get a point and not get outmuscled and outmanoeuvred. But they kind of seem to fall into the old tricks again. But there's still a long way to go. I'm still hopeful.
Good man.
You know, you can't expect to go through the rest of the season unbeaten. You know, it's going to take a little bit, maybe near that, for Norwich now to get up and into the promotions. But I think and hopeful they will still be okay.
I mean, as Darren says, Chris and John, we kind of hope that that sort of performance will be out of their system now. They'd gone and won at Cardiff. Everything was fine. It was a Neil Warnock team.
Yeah, well, the whole game at Burton, we actually played like we finished the last 45 against Newcastle. Desperate hoofball and just kind of conceded to playing quite a negative game that's not the Norwich way, whatever that is. I think that's kind of been a bit lost this season. So hopefully, and actually I think it's a great time to play Ipswich because it gives the guys a kick up the bum and a real opportunity to say, no, we're here, we're still on the up, and fingers crossed we get 3 points.
Well, we can't turn to the positives just yet.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, well, I think it's proven. I think that we all kind of thought, you know, maybe this team is a bit more adaptable when things aren't going well. And actually, we've probably seen over the recent games, you know, particularly against Burton, that they're not that adaptable at times. They can't change their style of play, which is a disappointment, isn't it?
Kind of been a long-running issue, hasn't it, as well, John? I mean, Alec Neil's not really known for his plan Bs, I guess, especially when the game's in play, and that was a real test for him on Saturday.
Yeah, we're a little bit constricted with injuries.
Good word.
Yeah, I'll try to get in there. with injuries, I mean, when we got Cameron Jerome running around like he did at Newcastle, he was vomiting at half-time, I think they said. I mean, he's run himself out like he always does. So he needs a little rest, but with no one else to come on. And we've got some changes in the back, I know, but we should have got at least a point. But it's a long way to go,
You can't use injuries as an excuse.
Well, Burton made 6 changes themselves as well.
The quality of our team should easily be Burton, John.
Yeah,
I agree. Regardless.
But that's a level of being...
Come on, John.
No, I'm very positive. I just think there should be that... Just because it's Burton doesn't mean we have
sure.
to... We have to.
Yeah,
to
but the
get
level of
points.
the squad is good enough to be
Of
beaten.
course,
Burton.
definitely. I agree with you. We need at least a point. But injuries do kind of change the team, and I know Burton's have had injuries well, but
that then doesn't
best
account
players-
for the individual errors that we see as well.
Well, that was what I was
That's-
going to say.
that's the
Tim
problem, isn't
Closer now has accounted for 2 goals in the last 2 games by a purely individual error. And clearly the manager can't legislate for that. But also, Alec Neil's job is to get the best out of these players rather than them keep making these mistakes.
Yeah, but it is a real difficult one. Once he sends them over that white line, it's down to themselves to make sure they're prepared and ready for a game. So I feel for Alex Neil in those instances. Individual errors are not his fault. Team selection and the way he sets his squad up, or they're kind of things he can take the responsibilities for. But individual errors seem to be hitting him hard at the moment.
I found that Tim Closer's mistake for the first goal was very unlike Tim Closer. Normally he's very clear-headed, just puts his foot through it, gets clear and just resets.
If in doubt, kick it out every time.
I don't know if the grass was longer in the corner.
I think as
like
well,
the old-
That's a new one.
But those individual errors happen throughout 90 minutes of every single game. But at the moment, it seems that Norwich are getting caught out on those individual errors and getting punished for them pretty quickly.
That's the championship, isn't it? That's the championship for you.
Every game, there's no easy games in the Championship, apparently. But Burton did manage to pick up a point at Derby in midweek as well, which underlines that what an incredible job Nigel Clough is doing there. The Pirelli Stadium is so small, and as I wrote on Monday, you can't not be patronising because effectively they are a club that seems way above where they should be.
I mean, look at their logo.
Fat man kicking a football. It is a fat man kicking a
Says it
football,
all, doesn't it? Very strange place. Very strange.
You enjoyed your trip, did you, Chris?
I enjoyed the trip, except the 90 minutes of football.
Okay. They're the best away games, aren't they, John?
It's good fun. I mean, it's always good fun. I don't go to many away games because I'm working. I'm doing other bits and bobs. But Burton, we should have beat him, shouldn't we? I've just thought about it. We should have beat him.
Well, I think as well, it's not just...
It didn't take long.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's the way they've approached those games previous and how much confidence they should have had to go into that one to be able to see a team like that off. But again, it just regressed a little bit.
Just
John's
thought
had another
something.
flash.
Yeah, they're relegation. They're battling for every point. That's why.
The sad thing is that I honestly
Because
think
Norwich are
Burton will
battling
go
for nothing,
down.
are they?
I think Burton will go down.
Do you?
I really do. I really do.
think
It's
it's-
an embarrassing thing.
Michael Kiley, great individual goal he scored. I think he could be the difference. He could be the sort of guy who keeps them up. But that is only 1 point for Norwich from trips to Wigan and Burton. Well, and Rotherham.
And
Oh,
Rotherham.
no. And Rotherham. Well, I was there at the marvellous surroundings of the Pirelli Stadium for Norwich City's historic first meeting with Burton, and a fair few City supporters made sure they were there to take in a new ground. Here is the post-match reaction from Alec Neil and Stephen Whittaker.
We started the game quite lively, we got into good areas at times, looked quite threatening, and then we conceded a goal from a ball getting knocked in a channel which we don't deal with, which is really poor from us. We then make a change at half time. I thought we looked lively at the start of the second half, we get our goal, and I thought at that stage the players looked sort of lively, they looked good, they looked as if they were going to go on and win it. The fans were behind us and it looked as if there was only one team going to win the game. But then we had a throw-in down the left-hand side, which we managed to give away into a dangerous area under no pressure, and then they break and we can't deal with one forward. I think we must have had about 70% of the game and their centre forward gets man of the match. So yeah, we let ourselves down today because for how many good performances we've had of late, I thought we had some really poor performances today.
Some games it's just small margins. We felt like we were doing okay in the game. There wasn't much in the game. It was a bit scrappy. Couple of misjudgments of stuff. It's obviously cost us goals. We got back into the game in the second half. We had the momentum going for us, and within 10 minutes we go behind again. So, we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot today.
You wouldn't say Burton's had numerous clear-cut opportunities that they've worked really well. What's happened is we've given a ball away for the first goal. We've then given a ball away for the second goal. And then we're playing sort of pass back and forward between my centre back and my goalkeeper in the 6-yard box. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just these are the games that you've got to come away and win. Do you know what I mean? And these are the games that this season we've struggled with. And I was hoping that we'd overcame that, but obviously we haven't.
I mean, like Tim's came in and apologised, but we all make mistakes. We're all capable of doing that. Sometimes they get punished, sometimes they don't, and they've obviously punished us today. But like I say, we still believed at half time that we could get something from the game and started positively, got the goal. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be.
So let's bring you up to date with the Championship picture as it stands. Weekend wins for Brighton and Sheffield Wednesday compounded City's defeat at Burton, while Newcastle picked up 3 points on Monday. But Derby were held by Burton on Tuesday, while Wednesday suffered a shock defeat. Huddersfield won for the 8th successive time in the league.
He said like Tuesday then Wednesday then, and he threw me completely.
That's
Tuesday
right.
won on Tuesday, then Wednesday won on Thursday.
It's been a long week. It's been a long week.
Sheffield.
Burton did their survival cause the power of good as their remarkable rise continues, now earning 10 points from the last 6 games. Ipswich head to Carrow Road safely ensconced in mid-table. But for City, a top 6 finish is still looking highly unlikely following Saturday's defeat. Newcastle are back on top of the pile, while Fulham could go above Norwich tonight with a win and still have a game in hand.
Nero gasps, can't you, in the background, just
Oh!
looking at teams.
Look
at Villa.
Well,
Look at Ipswich.
it doesn't get any easier, does it, looking at the table?
Well, it doesn't,
for Norwich
but-
or for Villa.
Well, no, but then looking at Ipswich, that got down to 3 points at one stage, didn't it? The close between Norwich and Ipswich, so at least it's
They should
a
have
10
a
point
star on their badge for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll start that. Get that in early, shan't we? I mean, was it a boost, Sheffield Wednesday losing in midweek?
Yeah.
Are we happy with that?
yeah, absolutely. I think even if they'd have won, there still would have been a 7-point gap with Leeds as well. So, you can't worry about the other teams. You've just got to get on and do the job you can, and that's the difficulty.
Yeah.
I think we're looking too far ahead at the minute. It seems a bit of a cliche, but taking every game as it comes along and just not worry about what other teams are doing, because they will drop points. They will.
Yeah.
Well, they are playing each other, as we'll find out. There's a couple that are playing this weekend too. Word for Huddersfield, though. I mean, not only did they draw, goalless draw, wasn't it? I think at home to Manchester City in the FA Cup. They're flying in the league.
Yeah.
There's a team, I think, that in them specifically have been lucky with injuries this season, have kept away from those type of things.
Have they made their own luck, though, Darren? Are they
Well, they
fitter?
have.
Because the games
Yeah.
I see, they look fitter
I'd
than most
agree,
sides
but
they play against.
there is an element of luck to it as well in keeping everybody fit. But in terms of the manager they've got and the squad they've got and the willingness, it's almost like not like a Leicester story. It's completely different. But in terms of what they're creating at this season, on a crest of a wave, and that
I thought
makes
the
it useful.
speculation that him going away to Wolfsburg, was it?
Yeah.
I thought that might kind of send him off the rails, done the opposite, if anything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he dug in and said, I'm going to stay.
I'm
And
gonna
they
stay.
remind me a lot of Paul Lambert's Norwich side that went up. And they're catching up with... I mean, I have to say, I think I wrote in my column that I'd have Dwight Gale tattooed on my leg if Newcastle don't go up this season. And I feel perfectly confident about that. Yeah?
I think you're pretty safe.
Can I do it?
You can do, you can. Well, I've got volunteers in my ear. John wants to do it. It's only going to be one tattoo for the point of it. Great stuff. Okay, well, we go back to Burton, shall we? Back to the Pirelli Stadium, where I had a chat with my colleague Paddy Davitt after the game. It was a very cheery occasion. Have a look.
Go on then, Pad, you give us your reaction then, if you want. I managed not to swear earlier.
What did you say?
Well, it's predictable. We've been here before. We've seen it time and again, and for all the want of corners turned, it hasn't happened.
There'll be no corners turned until they get the players who can come to these places, and it's not even with no disrespect to a Burton, with no disrespect to a Rotherham, with no disrespect to a QPR, Reading, maybe not Reading because they're up and around it, on and on and on. They haven't got the players. It's not about injuries, and to be fair to Alex Neil, he wasn't hiding behind that. Shot themselves in the foot again. They haven't got the players, simple as, to go to these places in the Championship and get points on a regular basis. That's why they're 7 points out of the playoffs. That's why they won't get in the playoffs unless there's a dramatic and rapid improvement. But you just don't see it. I mean, we've just said, the reality is they're probably better off now because they've got the Sheffield Wednesdays, they've got the Readings, the Huddersfields, teams in and around them. You fancy Norwich more against those type of sides than coming here today. Another instantly forgettable affair. Punters, I don't know what that's all about.
I think they're literally doing a lap of the ground, I think. But there we go, high spirits.
Indeed. Yeah, just frustration again. Manager's so frustrated, you can tell that in his post-match. Fed up almost now, because we've seen it too many times. And as you said there, corner turned, don't think so.
So, it's not that different a side, is it, from 2 years ago? In terms of being able to turn it on? Or are there key players missing? We've got the derby coming up. Of course, that was a key Bradley Johnson battleground. Is it that kind of player that they're missing? Or?
Oh, you'd have to say so, yeah, particularly in these environments. Maybe not as technically gifted as a Wes Houlan or an Alex Pritchard or Johnny Howson, but if he was in your side here, you'd feel that they'd be able to handle it rather than an all too familiar script which has unfolded again, entirely of their own making, individual errors, then seemingly not able to rouse themselves physically to win enough battles, win enough second balls to get back in the game. I mean, their keeper, second half, made one save from Wiltshire, and that was it. You know, it's not good enough, is it? So I take the injuries, I take the gruelling run they've had, but so is every other team. Nigel Clough was saying he had 6 injury doubts going into the game. OK, they didn't play midweek. But reality is not good enough, and are not going to be good enough this season, sadly.
You looked a bit bored at the end there, Michael, I have to say.
How dare you. I love my chats with Pad, and he made a good point about Norwich haven't got the players to win at these places at the moment. Now, surely a lot of those players were promoted 2 years ago. Are the ones that are missing key players to that? Has Alec Neil recruited the wrong players in the meantime?
I think we've seen this season Norwich are a good side when they're playing well. But when they have a poor performance, they seem to just drop right off. And that is a mentality. And I think that's what Paddy's saying. There's just certain players that will get you through games like that, even if it's a point. And I think he's right. I think we added to that with the new players they brought in. But, you know, Dykes can't do it all by himself, can he, really?
No, it's going to be fun watching him play in an East Anglian derby, to be honest, Mitchell Dykes. There'll be too many players for him to shove out the way. Yannick Velshud, should we touch on him? Because, again, I mean, he had brighter moments, I thought, on Saturday, but it is just not happening.
Of course, I'm not writing him off. I definitely think he is a useful signing. I just think it's been so strange because you've got Dykes, who's actually, you know, he's running straight away, and Wiltshire is really struggling. It seems I don't think he's been given enough of the ball, to be fair. And I think he's played in games where Norwich City haven't had the opportunity to really bring it to the opponents. Obviously, Burton away, you'd like to see something, but they are going to sit back naturally.
There's no space.
Newcastle are the best side in the league, so you know we're up against Ipswich. They are going to give us space. They are going to hoof the ball, but they are going to give us space. So potential there.
And I don't know if Wilshire's feeling the heat from the price tag a little bit as well. You know, that is a lot of money from where he's come from over the space of a year. That you know, psychologically, it may be affecting him a little bit.
And we've got to have an issue here with the fact that Martin Olsen and Robbie Brady aren't at the club. Two huge. I mean, Norwich are trying to recover from 2 top quality players that they've lost, regardless of what people thought about Robbie Brady's performances, which personally I didn't agree with. I thought he still brought a level most of the time that was adequate enough.
He was quality, wasn't he? But with the 2 new signings, one's started fantastic, one is not doing it. So what do? You keep him in the side, you try and get him going, like Nelson Oliveira when he first started. People kind of written him off very, very quickly. But it came good. Should we wait till he comes good? Or I personally wouldn't put him back in the side for the Ipswich game.
Yeah, I've not put him in for the Ipswich game either.
Well, do you know what? I would. See, I'll go completely against that and stick him in because that's when you can make a hero of yourself.
But this is it. I did want to touch on Alan Irvine's speculation to Rangers. I mean, that would be a bit of a blow for Alec Neil if that ended up happening. You're shaking your head. You don't care, Chris?
No, it's not. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, if he wants to go to Rangers, then so be it.
We don't know if he does.
Okay, but if he does, then so be it.
Well, I don't know.
Because it's that attitude that Olsen wanted to leave for what, a season and a half, 2 seasons? He's finally gone. That poisonous attitude of wanting to leave this football club, I've had enough of it.
And I don't know the dynamics between him and Alex Neil as well. I mean, I can't know Alex Neil putting over too much control to Alan Irvine anyway, so I don't think it'd make a huge amount of difference if he left.
And Richard Money, have you come across Richard Money much?
No, I've met him very briefly once, yes. Yeah,
what do you make of him? He's obviously got a little job on his hand now.
Well, yeah, but he seems like an honest, hard-working, all the kind of elements we want in the Norwich team at the moment. So I think he would certainly add a little bit to the youth team and hopefully get those kids coming through again.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting job, and the academy's going to clearly be important if the season doesn't quite go how everyone hopes. Okay, we are done for part 1. When we return, we'll open up the phone and tweet lines and get chirping to all you lovely people. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in 3. Welcome back to this week's Pink 'Un Show with Darren Eadie and a change in formation, John Rogers plus Chris Reeve. So another abject away performance, no doubt, left City's travelling support wondering exactly why they spent so much of their hard-earned cash on their football adventures. They've won just 4 games on the road all season, lost at the worst club in the division, and have conceded more goals away from home than everyone except for Rotherham and Nottingham Forest, who were hit for 5 at Carrow Road less than a fortnight ago. Cue friend of the show and Chris's fellow Talk Norwich City Reeve, Jack, to give us his take on events.
What a week it's been, a busy week. Newcastle on Tuesday, Burton Albion away yesterday, 1 point picked up. Yeah, is the playoffs over? Probably. Tuesday night, full of optimism, full of excitement, a great performance against a very decent Newcastle side. 1-0 behind after 20 seconds, get it back 2-1 and then concede a fairly late equaliser. But you take a point. You know, you take a point at home against Newcastle, a side who are probably they're definitely going to go up this season. And then you travel to Burton, who are struggling down in the bottom, haven't picked up many wins this season. You think, right, if we win here, then you know it sets us up perfectly for the derby, puts us into a nice little distance, keeps that distance nice and tight between us and Sheffield Wednesday for the playoffs. And we go and screw it up, don't we? And we should have probably learned this season that it would have gone that way. Our away form has been quite abysmal. 4 away wins all season. Me and my mates were working out at about 10 o'clock last night in a McDonald's service station as we travelled back from the umpteenth game that we've been to this season. We have seen 7 away wins in the last 2 seasons following Norwich City. Now, I've missed a few of them. I missed Cardiff away. And I missed Man United away last season. So I have seen 5 away wins in the last 2 seasons. That is woeful.
Good stuff there from Jacko. I mean, just on this home and away form, which is the crux for me. Darren, you've played in numerous teams. I'm sure it happened to you. What is it? The pitch is the same?
I think if we knew the answer to that, I'd be a manager, and we all would. But considering when Alex Neil came here and the away form was outstanding, so such a contrast.
That is the remarkable thing for me. They were unbeaten away from home under Alex Neil until Southampton in the Premier League.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I mean, it's completely different. Well, not completely different set of players, but different seasons, and perhaps you can't read into it too much. But I don't know, because perhaps he doesn't change the formation too much when he goes away from home. But then he didn't before, and he still got results. So it's just I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's got to be a mentality. I think when I've seen Norwich play poorly this season, it's been a team that have got stuck in their faces and put their foot in and hassled them and harried them.
It's the attitude to show the game out, isn't it? That's what we've lacked. It's not necessarily the ability or quality of the players. On paper, I'd say this is probably the best Norwich team in years, since I've started supporting Norwich anyway. And the attitude just isn't there.
Fitness levels as well, I think, have been certainly evident for me from the start of the season. I've seen people running around with gel packs. I know maybe I'm picking up on a little bit too much because they're struggling towards the end of games, but I think it was Chris, you put a stat up, didn't you, about was Michael?
Yes, I put that up.
And
we've got that tweet. We might do it, talk is cheap, but we'll definitely come back to
it's just
that.
an outstanding stat to show that actually they are struggling towards the end of games. Which is a complete contrast to Lambert.
I couldn't believe it. Just when you were playing though, Darren, and you were in that situation, what would you do about it? Or would you acknowledge it? Would you have to just ignore it? Say you couldn't.
Well, you just approach the game as you would do anyway. I think every individual's different. You go out collectively as a group, of course, but I approached the game in the way I wanted to play it, the attitude that I wanted to make sure that I wanted to win a game, to play the best for me, for the fans, for Norwich City. And maybe that's got lost a little bit. I don't know. Are people not quite so dedicated to Norwich? I don't know.
That's an interesting point. I think actually almost showing the fans what they want is actually coming back. You know, it's at the end of the game now that the players are making an extra effort to come over and applaud. And even against Burton, when the Norwich fans were probably unnecessarily singing, what a load of rubbish.
That was one of
minus
them,
the swearing. And the players were coming nice and close, clapping, acknowledging it, not smirking, and showing the right thing off the field. But on the field, are they seeing games out? Definitely not.
And I guess the issue is Norwich have still got to go to Huddersfield, Leeds, and Sheffield Wednesday. John.
Still February. That's the only thing I'm holding on to. It's still February. All the teams around us have got to play each other. We've got to play quite a few teams above us. We've got to win them. There's no it's a long way to go. We've got to win them. We've got to put performances in. We've got to start beating teams below us again, like we were But still a long time to go.
It's this month. It's this month coming up that's mega important, March.
Mega March.
April is where we've got an opportunity to crack on.
Mega March. Alrighty then, bring it on. Let's fire up the phone lines and take the temperature on Twitter. It's time for this. And we already have our first caller on the line, which I believe is Joe Denton. Good evening, Joe. Thank you so much for ringing up. The floor is yours. Tell us what you would like to about Norwich City.
Hi, guys. Basically, I want to say that this weekend is, I think, a season changer for us. Because if we win this game, we can really crack on. I think, especially with Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds playing each other, I think a draw in that game would probably be the worst thing for us because they'll get 1 point ahead of us. So if either team lose, they'll be on 58 points, and then we will close that gap back up. So I think this weekend's a massive, massive season changer for us.
And that's pretty positive, Joe, because I get the sense, and I know from speaking to the players and also from speaking to other fans as well, there's been this sense that, well, this will be the defining weekend, this will be, and they've chances that they've maybe missed. So it sounds to me like you do have faith that this could be a genuine one.
I feel as if this could be genuine. I did think to myself that the Newcastle one would be because of, well, the reverse fixture against Newcastle. That changed our season because we went on our festive slump, you could say, from that point. So I think from this game, this could be the one that really kicked us on. But if we do lose, especially when our home form's been so good, that could be mentally damaging for us, I honestly think. Just because we've been doing so well at home, if we get beaten, but especially by our local rivals, I think the atmosphere could turn. But I think the atmosphere this weekend is going to be really good, and everyone's going to get behind the boys, especially like for the first game for a few years against Ipswich at home. So I think I'm definitely positive that we can get something out of this game. But I think even if we do win this game and create some form, our away form's got to improve, and we've got some gigantic games coming up, especially April's like the biggest month of all, and we've got to put the performances against the teams around us, because that's why we went down, because we weren't able to beat the teams around us. Fair enough, we beat Newcastle at home, but you look at everyone, a lot of the other teams that we lost to, that's why we went down. So I think this season we've got to put it against the teams around us, otherwise we won't get promoted.
Brilliant stuff, Joe. Thank you so much for your call. Awesome April then with Mega March. I mean, it is interesting. I think in March, Norwich play once in 20 days. And then in April, they've got 5 games in 17. So it's pretty proper stacked as well. But I mean, it's as simple as almost the game at Hillsborough, isn't it, as well? We concentrate on Ipswich. Norwich go to Hillsborough next weekend.
That's what I was going to say. I do agree with Joe. I think he's right in terms of the atmosphere and what it could break the season if they don't win. But taking the pure emotion out of it, it's a derby game. They have to win this weekend no matter who they're playing against, because they've had turned in such a poor performance against Burton, and they're at home. So whether it's Ipswich or whether it's anybody in this league, they've got to win this weekend.
And the fact they are at home is a crutch, isn't it? Their home form has been very good recently. They're almost relying on it because they have to.
It's been brilliant. I mean, it has been brilliant. The last few games, I mean, the wins we had, it's been goals flying in. What is 5th highest scorers in Europe?
They were Barcelona.
Yeah, it's another tweet we'll have in a moment.
Sorry.
Hold that thought, John. Good work. Let's go back to you, Joe. Let's just get your prediction then. Lay it on the line for Sunday. And will Norwich finish in the top 6? Give me your answers.
I think this weekend, we'll win 3 or 4-1. I think the simple reason is like we're able to beat like the middle of the ground teams around us, like we have Brentford and Wolves and stuff like that. So I think 3 or 4-1. Playoffs, I honestly don't think we will. So I think we'll fail to beat the teams around us.
And there we go. Joe, thank you so much. Great call there. Well, we take 3 or 4-1.
Yeah.
Not finishing in the top 6.
Yeah. I do agree, but I think it could be a defining weekend. If they win, it could then really
gives Ipswich so much motivation. I mean, let's not forget they've not won at Norwich in a decade now, and all of the motivation is there for them to knock us off our stool big time.
John, we've got the tweet that you were talking about earlier. Let's have a look at it, shall we? This was from a graphic on Sky Sports News, I believe it was. I mean, obviously bigging up the Newcastle Villa game because Newcastle are banging there, but Norwich were 5th, which everyone seemed to overlook. Norwich are actually the top scorers, I think, in the at home in the Championship as well. But there are some anomalies, aren't there, with this stat, given that Norwich have probably played and Newcastle played far more games than some of these other teams.
But also as well, I think it shows the problems we had at the back this season, which haven't changed from
That's almost it. It's the comparison between Norwich and Newcastle, isn't it, rather than the other side. So Newcastle are flying.
Newcastle have conceded half as many goals. I looked at the table the other day. Half as many goals if we'd scored. That's just crazy.
And look at their goalkeeper.
Just crazy.
Well, as much as you go back to a good side always tends to start from the back defensively, doesn't it? And then you build forward. It seems to have gone the other way with Norwich. I think of recent years they've brought a lot of attacking flair and players to score goals, but actually maybe neglected the defensive side a little bit.
But these are discussions we've had for 2 years, aren't they? And all through last season it was a major issue.
Yeah,
Tim Closer was supposed to be the answer.
Yeah, he was, but nothing's changed, does it?
It hasn't.
And but one defender's not enough either. You know, Tim Closer
Very
might
true,
be the answer,
very
but
true.
you need more than one.
We'll come back to this point, I think, because there's a lot more to be had on it. But we've got our next caller on the line, which is Chris Loosley. I hope I've pronounced that right. Chris, thank you so much for ringing in. What would you like to talk about?
Just basically the squads this year, to be honest. The squad was meant to be good enough to take us up, but it isn't. Then the squad which isn't playing good enough, who do you blame? You've got to blame the manager. And then who do you blame for not the manager getting rid of? You've got to blame the board. So, to be honest, it's a bit topsy-turvy with the playoff thing at the minute. It can go either way. With Sheffield Wednesday losing last night. It's a big game this Sunday and a big game the week after. But beat Ipswich this week, and then beat Sheffield Wednesday, we're right back in it. But like I said, I don't really know which way this one's going to go.
Yeah, it's always a tough one to call, Chris. I mean, I guess from that you probably would have wanted Alec Neil to have been sacked when things got really tough. I mean, when would you have wanted that to happen? And did you have in your mind someone you would have liked to have seen Norwich bring in his place?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we had, one win in 12 games, I think it was. Any other manager, that would have been it. He would have been gone. But obviously the board didn't have the bottle, to be honest, to get rid of him. And that's been our problem right the way throughout the years I've been supporting Norwich. So, like I said, if you get rid of him, who do you bring in? And that was the big question.
And that's why the board members do their job, because they should be able to find out what they want and who they want to bring in. Just one more, Chris. We asked Joe the same question too. Prediction for Sunday, and will Norwich finish in the top 6?
That's a big one. We'll go 3-0 this weekend to us. I think Alex Neil will get them up for it this weekend. And yeah, we will finish in the top 6.
Oh, well done, Chris. Top call. Thank you so much. Positive. Nothing wrong with that. Football fans. Brilliant. That's exactly what we want. We're going to go to the tweet that you touched on earlier, Darren. There it is. I couldn't believe this when I saw this, in all honesty. It's the championship. You can only see some of it, but effectively, it's the championship table. If every game this season so far had lasted just 80 minutes, had that have been the result on 80 minutes every game, Norwich would be third. That's a staggering change from where they are now. I mean, what is it down to, Darren? Because I've heard a couple of theories.
We could have put one up there after 45 minutes. We could have put one up after 70 minutes. We might have been top. Who knows? I mean, it's a nonsense. A game lasts 90 minutes, and you deserve to be where you are over the season after 90 minutes of every single football match. But when you look at it like that, you think, well, what's happening in the last 10 minutes? And it is a problem about seeing games out. We've talked about fitness. And I know Alex Neil is a big one for those stats and looking at why things aren't going quite well. So I'm sure he's aware of that and wonders why just as much as we do.
Would you put it down to fitness? Would you say?
I think they've had an issue with it all season, yeah. And even when they've brought players in, they've not shoved them straight in the side. They've had to try and get them fit enough first. I think we've seen games where I don't think we've been particularly stretched, yet I see at the end of the game lads almost laying on the floor. But that, again, is also a mentality. It's harder to... Sometimes it feels more physically demanding when you're not confident. When you're full of confidence, you can get through games quite simply.
We've got a comment on the YouTube live feed, I believe. Paul Tierney, he says, "It's all over, lads. Get over it." There you go, John. It's all over, lads. Get over it. Yeah. He's off. Not the show, just the playoff bit.
Oh, the playoff thing. Not until it's mathematically impossible. It's not.
Okay. I mean, there are trends, aren't there, I suppose. At what point do you give up?
When it's mathematically impossible. I think John's right. I think you never lose that hope as a fan, as a player. You always believe you can still do it. And the frustrating thing is as well, it frustrates when you see the side that Norwich has got, the squad they've got. Yes. And that's what it still gives you that hope. You still think, and if they've been of recent weeks turning in 1 or 2-0 wins, sort of scraping them, you'd be a bit like, oh.
Well, that was the start of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were like,
Yeah.
well, not really convinced by this, but at least they're winning. When they play really well, they'll be great.
Yeah.
And then they went on a horrendous run.
But then recently they smashed teams, absolutely dominated them. Yet they then turn in a performance like that.
Okay, we need to get to our third and final caller of the evening, which is Mike Williams. Mike, thank you so much for giving us a call. The floor is yours.
Hello, Michael. Hello, gents. First of all, I'd just like to congratulate Darren, John and Chris for doing something that Alex Neil's not done this year, which is to have a change of formation.
Hey! Well said, Mike. Well said.
Anyway, talking about this week's game against Ipswich, I usually think about derby matches where form doesn't come into it. It's usually about appetite, pressure, etc., etc. But I do believe that we are a lot better team than Ipswich, and I just think that we need to actually start off on a high tempo, and we need to dictate to them with our game and not let them dictate to us. One of the things that really irritates me is I keep hearing that we're being physically bullied, particularly away from home, and I think that when we've got the back five having 2 players who are 6'1" and 3 players who are 6'4", I just don't understand how this can happen. The other thing, of course, is that in the past when Chris Hughton was here, he used to big up the opposition in the Premiership. Alex Neil is now doing this in the Championship. And I just don't understand why we can't beat these teams and use our skill, our superior skill to play better and win the game. One last point, I did hear today there was a rumour about Ian Culverhouse, and I thought and hoped that he would be coming back to sort our defensive frailties out, but sadly he's gone to Kings Lynn.
Good stuff, Mike. Yeah, we're going to touch on that. Just before you go, can I have your prediction for Sunday's derby and top 6? We'll know.
I do believe we will win. I can't see us getting through a game without conceding a goal, so it will be something 1. Let's hope it's 3-1.
And will Norwich make the top 6?
I think that all depends on how we play against the teams above us. As you said earlier, they've all got to play each other. Huddersfield have got the easiest run in with only 2 to play. I think we've got to win 10 out of the last 13, and that includes not losing to any of the 4 teams above us. But I don't think we will make it, no.
Good stuff, Mike. Great call. Sad ending, but a great call. Great stuff. Let's have a look at some tweets, shall we? What have we got here? One from Sam Victor Jeremy. Just realised we've got to play the entire top 10 bar Newcastle before the end of the season. Hope that kills you in terms of playing the teams around you. I'd be more inclined to worry about Norwich's form against the rest of the division.
Yeah, we just switched to the formation here, by the way.
Yeah, you have. Are
Doesn't
you happier playing like that?
Yeah,
I'm on the left now.
I feel like it's more
comfortable.
Yeah, you're really comfortable. You can see the hair down around the corner. Oh, yeah, I mean, Norwich's record against the top 6 has been pretty shocking.
As we've said already, April is the month. We play...
March a minute ago.
Yeah, March a minute ago.
March is, but April is too.
Mega March, awesome April.
March, we've got teams where we've got like teams of like.
Do you not think between now and the end of the season is important? That's what I'd go for.
Magic May.
Ipswich, Ipswich could derail us.
Could be all over in May. Thanks as always for your calls and tweets. Talk is cheap. We'll be back next week. And if you want to get something off your chest, simply send us an email to sport@mustardtv.co.uk. Our final break is upon us. When we come back, it's all eyes on Carrow Road for that game on Sunday. It's why you've been growing your fingernails. We'll see you in 3. Welcome back to the final part of tonight's Pink and Show with me, with Darren Eadie, with John Rogers and Chris Reeve, back in their 0-3-0 formation. Nice noise, Chris, like that. No time is more apt for this than right about now.
How are Ipswich getting on?
There he is, the man who likened Yannick Wilschut to Maradona, Johan Cruyff and Pelé. Unbelievable there. There we go. Right, this is, of course, because it's Ipswich Town coming to Carrow Road on Sunday. So to fill us in on our arch rivals, I'm delighted to say we're joined now by town correspondent for the East Anglian Daily Times, Stuart Watson. Stuart, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Michael. You okay?
I'm okay, thank you very much. We've got a big week in store. We know what it's like. There's a lot to do for us guys. It has been a difficult season for both Norwich and for Ipswich, but it does seem to me that there's been a bit of an upturn at Ipswich recently. They seem to be in a bit of decent form.
Yeah, it's sort of a much-needed upturn in form and dare I say, a pleasant surprise because I think a month or so ago, I guess, you know, it was looking like both managers' jobs might be on the line with this fixture on the horizon, but you know, yourselves north of the border have obviously picked up last weekend's result aside, and Ipswich certainly in February, the fixture list in February was looking pretty fearsome with Reading, Villa, Brighton, Leeds, Norwich. I think, you know, there was a fair bit of trepidation from the fans, but unbeaten in those fixtures so far, and yeah, as I say, a big upturn in form at just the right time.
Yeah, I think the derby was going to be dubbed the P45 derby a few months ago because it looked like both Alec and Mick's jobs would be riding on it. Are you surprised Mick's still in charge? Because he's had to go through all sorts, not least losing to a non-league side in Lincoln in the FA Cup.
Am I surprised he's still in charge? No. Did I think, if you'd have asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have almost certainly said I think he's heading for perhaps a mutual parting of ways in the summer. He himself has sort of said that perhaps people are a bit bored of him for 4 and a bit years in charge now. And I think we've probably seen and heard everything, you know, there is to hear from Mick, good or bad. And he himself sort of hinted that maybe it would be kind of best if he moved on in the summer. If the mood was still the same as it was a few weeks ago. But the last few results and performances have kind of hinted that maybe he's taken on board a few of the criticisms from the fans, whether the owners had a little quiet word behind the scenes as well about a few things. I don't know, but certainly he's gone about things slightly differently in the last few games, and he might just win back over a few just yet.
That's interesting stuff. I mean, personally, I'm quite a big fan of Mick McCarthy. I think he's done a great job, but he does seem to find value where it feels like Norwich City have kind of wasted millions and millions of pounds. But Tom Lawrence is suspended for Sunday, so that's clearly going to be a big miss. But others have kind of stepped up in recent weeks as well, and Emma Hughes is one that's kind of caught my eye. What do you make of him, and how big a miss is Tom going to be?
Yeah, I mean, Tom undoubtedly will be a huge miss. There was a number of Ipswich fans wanting him to pick up a tactical booking a couple of weeks ago just so he could get that 2-game ban out the way and be back in time for the derby match. He got through one game and then picked up a silly booking for dissent in the very next match. So a lot of Town fans will be absolutely gutted that he's not available because you cannot overstate how good he has been this season. He's been the one sort of shining light in what was a particularly sort of inconsistent and uninspiring first sort of 6 months of the season. If you have a little look through his goal reel, they've all been pretty spectacular efforts. I'm sure he'll have 2 or 3 that feature in the sort of the end of season goal of the season highlights and packages and awards. But Emma Hughes, you touched upon, has been a breath of fresh air. He's been the big. If you were to ask me what has been the big reason behind the recent turnaround, it's been Emma Hughes. Ipswich have been crying out for a positive, creative, goal-scoring midfielder for a number of years now. Mick seems to have kind of overlooked that issue in the team for a long time. That's been probably the biggest criticism that have been levelled at him. Cole Scoos has been the underrated protecting, shielding player in there, and he does a great job, but he needs somebody else as a bit more of a creative balance alongside him, and finally he's got one in Emma Hughes who's as I say been a breath of fresh air. So him and Tumani Diagoraga on loan from Leeds as well, those two have kind of really shaken up the midfield a little bit, and I think that's probably been the biggest reason for the better performances.
Brilliant stuff, Stuart. We've got time for a very brief prediction. I think you predicted a draw last time we had you on the show, so you know, got to live up to that. What are you going to go for? It's been a while since Ipswich won this fixture.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, Ipswich have drawn 3 of their last 4 games, tricky games. I think they're probably in that sort of ballpark at the minute. So for fear of sitting on the fence, as I said last time, I think a draw and Ipswich would probably secretly be quite pleased with that.
Great man, Stuart. Thank you so much for coming on. We didn't give you too much stick, did we? Yeah, we were quite good. Well, we know what is the fixture list is coming up. Let's put some meat on those bones for Sunday. Well, it was great to hear from Stuart. I mean, there's no getting away from the fact that there's some pretty good stats in favour of Norwich going into this game. If you're looking at the cold light of day, Darren.
Yeah, it gives you hope, doesn't it?
You love stats, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of stats, so I try and take every game as it comes. But undoubtedly, Norwich have had the best of it for many, many years, and we just hope it continues.
Would we be more worried about this fixture if it's at Pullman Road, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair to say, I think. Yeah. I mean, we played okay down there. We still didn't get beaten. It's a difficult game. All the form, all the stats, everything goes out the window when it kicks off.
I mean, you're both Norwich fans. Do you feel nervous about this?
No.
Has it kicked in?
If we were top and they were bottom, I'd still feel nervous about it because it's just a derby game. Because everything goes out the window. It's just a crazy game, isn't it? It always is. The atmosphere is bigger than normal. The players are rushing into challenges more than they would do, and you can never relax. I don't enjoy it.
And that's the point as well. You got to keep cool heads, especially in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, because someone like Dykes, who if he gets fired up too much and gets himself sent off, all of a sudden you're playing with 10, and then it becomes a lot more difficult.
Although I want to see more emotion. I really, as a fan, I want to see that emotion in the first 5 minutes. I want Dykes to push someone off the pitch in the dugout. I really do. Because it'll fire up the fans.
It is violence.
It'll fire up the fans, it'll get the spirits up, and it'll get us going. It really will.
I mean, where do you guys see Ipswich? I know we don't look at them much, but they've got some good players. Yes, this is true.
Tom Lawrence isn't their player, and it's a real shame that he's out for the Norwich game. I would have really liked to have seen him bless the Carrow Road pitch, because he's got a lot of quality and he's done really well this season.
But there we go.
It's a little bit patronising, isn't it?
A little bit patronising. Save that for Burton, Chris. Save that for Burton. Right, let's bring you this weekend's Championship fixtures, shall we? The focus will be at the bottom on Friday, with Tony Mowbray taking charge of Blackburn for the first time following Owen Coyle's sacking this week. Should be an early cracker at Elland Road on Saturday, while Huddersfield take their winning run to Oakwell. The evening kick-off should be tasty too, as Reading travel to the south coast, all before Sunday's fun and games at Carrow Road. And it's Thursday press conference for City this week, so keep an eye on Mustard's YouTube channel for all the key lines, as me and the rest of the media hear from Alec Neil and co at Colney. And we will be at Carrow Road on Sunday, so come and say hello if you see the Mustard cameras, and you will be able to catch Pink and Match Day from 7 p.m. on Sunday. Gents, you're in the dugout. You are Alec Neil. Let's see who you'd pick. Chris, we've got your 11 first. Take us through this. You gave us a little bit of a taster earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think you've got to remain. You've got to give faith in a lot of those players. Still, we haven't really got much choice given injuries. I do really like Houlihan and Pritchard playing together. I think it brings a real fear factor into the Norwich team. It puts them on the back foot straight away. Pritchard's pace, the ball sticks to his feet, and obviously Wes is just magic against Ipswich, isn't he? And I think having a player like Wes in the middle will really scare them. And it'll mean that basically Ipswich have got to bring the game to us rather than sit back. Because if Ipswich sit back and we've got those players on the field, I can only see it going one way, and that's the yellow.
If there's a suggestion that Pinto and Malumbu might both be fit for Sunday. Would you bring either of them in?
I mean, I know Whittaker can play anywhere. He is absolutely magical. But Ivo Pinto, what a man.
John, let's have a look at your 11, shall we? Quickly. I think we've got Stephen Naismith in this. We've had a comment on the YouTube feed from Jarlo. Naismith's leadership and bottle is key for our playoff push. I don't think he's going to be ready for Sunday. But we'll see. Well, hopefully. It'd be lovely if he was.
He would. The reason I put him, if he is fit, he's got to start for his last two teams, Everton and Rangers. I mean, probably the biggest derbies in world football. So he knows a derby. He knows what to get stuck into, when to cause a little bit of argy-bargy, as Chris wants to
really
push people off the pitch. Yeah.
Break their back and things like that.
He'll wind them up. He'll niggle them. He'll save
it would be good to see.
But then a lot of these players should know that anyway. You know, a lot of these players have played in these derbies before, so you shouldn't be any
against Ipswich away at the start of the season. I don't think the players understood the occasion. I think now, with all of the hype and the maturity in the squad, I think they understand it.
Let's hope so. We've got to touch on Ian Culverhouse, the new Kings Lynn manager, and you obviously played alongside Ian. That's a really interesting move for him.
Yeah, I didn't expect to see him back here so quickly around this way, but an opportunity for him, a really well-run non-league club. So yeah, wish him all the very best. He's a true pro as well. He was a great player to play against, fantastic player.
Oh, Norwich fans love Ian Culverhouse, and as Mike mentioned, they probably would have quite liked him back.
Well, maybe that's the move. It's just in earshot or eyeshot, I guess, of the football club. I guess just round the corner now, isn't he?
That's true. Predictions then, gents, for the derby. Everyone else has had a go.
3-0.
3-0 to Norwich.
Of course.
So optimistic. Yes, John?
1-0 to Norwich.
1-0 to Norwich. A little bit more cagey.
89th minute.
Take that.
From?
Oh, amazing.
Where's Hula?
Quicker.
Malumbu.
Oh, you've lost it there. Chris?
2-1 Norwich.
2-1 Norwich. Jobs are good. And what could possibly go wrong?
No.
We are done for tonight. If you missed any of the show, do not worry. It will be on our YouTube channel and repeated regularly on Mustard. We'll be back as usual at our usual time on Wednesday, live from 6:45 p.m. on YouTube and at 8 p.m. on Mustard. But for now, a big thank you to Darren Eadie, John Rogers and Chris Reeve on the sofa, to Stuart Watson and all our callers and tweeters, as well as producer Jake and the Mustard team. And of course, a big thank you to your good selves for watching. Until next week, here's to it being Derby Delight for the Canaries on Sunday. After all, we've probably forgotten what to do if it was anything else. Good night.